This is the Toni Systems optic mount for the Beretta 92X RDO, the M9A4, and the 92X Performance Defensive, I believe. And I'm going to be comparing it to the factory optics mount. What comes with this is a little chart and diagram of what pins and screws go where for what sights. So this is the type B one. There's also a type A. So pretty much there's two of these plates from Toni Systems, and they'll cover pretty much any optic you want to put on your Beretta with the optics ready cut, like this one. Comes with all the recoil lugs you need. Comes with mounting hardware for a certain kind of optic, not the Trijicon RMR, which is what I'm going to be putting on the gun on this optic mount. And it has the screws that mount it to the slide and an Allen key. And this one is machined out of aluminum, and it is a lot lighter and a lot more expensive than the factory one, which is made of steel. I paid $90 for this, and it was hard to find it in the United States because Toni Systems is Italian. This is the one that is factory for the Beretta RDO platform for the Trijicon RMR, and it cost $30, and it was easy to find. On the bottom of all the little pins they supply, you can see that they leave a little goober from parting it off on the lathe, which isn't a huge deal because all the holes for these lugs are countersunk, and they go through the optics plate, so it doesn't really matter. And of course you wouldn't want that goober facing up and hitting the bottom side of the pocket on your optic. You can see the outline of the RMR gasket here on the bottom side of it that seals the electronics, and you can tell this is not going to be watertight due to these other mounting holes right here. Got my little drug scale out here, and I got the Toni Systems mount on there with the Recoil boss pins for the RMR and the screws that mount it to the slide, and it's 0.55 ounces. And this is the factory Beretta plate with its hardware to mount it to the slide. It's 1.7 ounces. So that means the factory Beretta optic mount plate is 1.16 ounces heavier than the Toni Systems. Here are a couple of pictures of the factory Beretta plate on the slide with no optic to show its position and height. And here are the same pictures with the Toni Systems plate. Here I am showing my measurements of the mounting height, and the Toni Systems puts the optic about 40 thousandths higher than the factory Beretta plate. Here's a side-by-side comparison showing the position and height of the RMR on the slide with the optics plates installed. So I got the Toni Systems plate all mounted up with my RMR on it, and unfortunately the optic actually sits higher than with the factory Beretta plate, but the big issue here is the weight savings. That's really what I was going for with this and why I spent the money on it. When I put the RMR and the Beretta factory plate on there, the steel one, it's so heavy I noticed the slide noticeably, slowed down, and I also had noticeably more muzzle flip when I was shooting it. And I've shot this, I didn't get any range footage of it, but slide cycle time is back up, and also there's noticeably less muzzle flip. There's so much less mass reciprocating up high on that slide now that it's a lot more pleasant to shoot. So for me, the $90 price tag was worth it. The factory plate totally works. There's nothing wrong with it, but I like to get my stuff dialed in as much as possible. This plate, if you notice, it's hard to notice, but it has a little bit of forward cant to it with respect to the center line of the bore, and I believe that's to account for the fact that the optic sits so high above the bore. I'm pleased with the purchase. I found this through American Precision Firearms. They're one of a few Toni Systems dealers in the United States. I believe that this plate system is the factory one that comes with the 92X Performance Defensive model. I kind of consider it the performance option rather than the $29 steel optic mount plate.